I don't know if this can really be considered a bake-off, but it was the only term I could think of to describe this situation, so my apologies. Basically, this past weekend, my sister-in-law and I decided to do a bake-off to see who tres leche cake our family liked more. Sister-in-law and I both consider ourselves good cooks. We always share the responsibility of making the food for family dinners or lunches when we all get together, since we both enjoy it. We both like to brag about our homemade tres leche cake. We always have friendly banter with each other about how mine would kick yours' butt, mine would put yours to shame, etc. This is 100% in a joking way, and how we joke around with each other. Sister-in-law and I have a great relationship with each other, or so I thought. So we decided to actually see whose cake tasted better at a recent family dinner that we had. We both agreed beforehand that it would just be for jokes, and there would be no hard feelings. Obviously, because it's just a cake. Boy, was I wrong. Fast forward, we finished dinner, and it's dessert time. Sister-in-law and I bring out our cakes for the family to try. Now, I will admit, her presentation looked way better than mine. It was a circular cake, though, and perfectly iced and decorated. Unusual for the usual tres leche, but whatever. Before we started eating, sister-in-law asked if someone could run to the kitchen and grab the cake cutter tool she had bought at the store the other day. My husband volunteered since he was getting a refill of his wine anyway. Husband comes back a minute later with his glass of wine, the cake cutting tool, and a receipt that had one large tres leche cake and a cake cutter tool purchased from our local bakery earlier this morning. He questions my sister-in-law about this jokingly. Sister-in-law loses her marbles and starts yelling at him why he was going through her stuff. My husband explained that the cake cutter tool was inside her plastic grocery bag. Right under it was a receipt. So he grabbed it by accident with the tool and looked at it without thinking anything. And lo and behold, my father-in-law and I started laughing a little bit. Brother-in-law, not sister-in-law's husband, my other brother-in-law, 22, chimes in and is all like, "So much for the homemade tres leche from scratch, huh?" Now, this whole time, I'm sitting there silently because what the heck am I supposed to say? Suddenly, sister-in-law starts going off on me, saying how I tried to outshine her by making mine from scratch. I'm like, huh? I thought that was the whole point of this. And also, yours looks way better than mine. So how did I outshine you? She starts saying she's pregnant, and the least I could have done was let her win. She stormed out and has been bad-mouthing my husband and me ever since. I feel bad because it was supposed to be a fun, lighthearted little competition. Most of the family is split because some feel like I could have given her a heads up. So, am I the idiot? Excuse me? Heads up for what? I'm really struggling to understand how the family would think that anyone did anything wrong except your sister-in-law. Your husband found the recipe in a perfectly innocent way. Why is she accusing you of not letting her win? You didn't find the receipt. I don't understand how any of this is lying at your feet. You showed up with a homemade cake. That's all you did. Yet somehow family thinks you did something wrong? Not the idiot, but I'm wondering if some of your family are idiots. Yeah, I mean, was it some kind of open secret in the rest of the family that sister-in-law's cakes had never actually been homemade? How else did OP's making her cake from scratch for a home baking competition merit any heads up? OMG, this is hilarious. Busted. This is pretty funny. I'm not sure what she thought you were supposed to do about her cheating. So, did yours taste better than the bakery cake? LOL. OP, you did nothing wrong. You just sat there as this all unfolded. So, I can't see how you're at fault. Sister-in-law cheated and got caught. Instead of admitting fault, she threw a hissy fit. She tried to defend her actions by claiming her pregnancy should absolve her of her bad behavior. Hopefully her tantrum is a result of pregnancy hormones, and an apology will be on the way. If not, let her continue to sulk and don't apologize. She's rightfully embarrassed and needs to just take her lumps instead of lashing out like a toddler. Anyway, I wish I could have tried your cake. I, 28 female, am a first-time mom. My husband and I have a 6-month-old baby who's teething horribly. I was at my mother's home a few days ago and spoke to her about the teething issue. My mom does some old-fashioned things, and she's really into herbs and natural healing and such. So she wanted to try rubbing whiskey on my daughter's gums. She said she did it to all three of my siblings and me. I let her, and it seemed to calm my daughter down. When I got home, I told my husband about this, and he was furious. He said that's harmful to our daughter, and it does not relieve any pain. He got really upset and said I shouldn't have let my mom do something like that, and told me I couldn't bring our daughter to my mother's anymore. He's since called the next 2 days off of work and is super paranoid, watching me every second with our daughter. I feel this is unfair. You are the idiot. Yeah. I mean, you know alcohol is unsafe. It also doesn't work as a topical analgesic. If the baby quietens, it's because of the general sedative effect. I think it's hilarious how your mother conflates the use of a well-understood but completely inappropriate drug with herbs and natural healing. You're 28 and a mom. You need to make your own judgments, not just listen to your mom without question. I understand you're a new mom and made a mistake, but it's common sense to seek a doctor if something seems wrong with either you or your kid. I understand your husband completely, and you should respect the boundary he set until he feels comfortable again. However, seems a bit fair he would be paranoid, considering he's a new father as well. Fair? Seriously? This is a traditional remedy that's been used for over 100 years. Yes, we know there are safer and more effective choices today, but a frazzled new mom listening to this advice on one occasion, and she's already the worst mom ever? She didn't fill a sippy cup with bourbon and have the kid go to town. A few drops as a one-time exposure is not medically a cause for concern. There's no defending that overreaction. If you think that's fair, I hope when the husband accidentally bonks the kid on the head while playing, that OP tells him he has to leave the house for a week until he gets his violence under control. OP, you are not the idiot. You made a bad judgment call here, and many people will come charging in on their high horses to tell you what a horrible mother you are, as if they've never messed up before. Don't worry about them. You're a first-time mom, so you're naturally going to listen to your own mother when she tries to give you advice. It's natural to look to our elders for guidance and to trust them. The best course of action is to be mature adults about this and have some open communication among the three of you, him, and your mother. Your mother needs to understand that this is a new boundary. He needs to understand that parents make mistakes, and it doesn't do anyone any good to become extreme in such a way. You need to look into things before applying them to your child so that this, or something worse, doesn't happen to your child. I hope this situation is handled well and that all of you can find yourself in a better situation of clearer understanding and progress. My husband is a chronic procrastinator. He has ADHD, and I'm sure that plays a role, but I will say that it mostly comes down to things like chores. Regarding leisure activities, he doesn't procrastinate at all and usually rushes me. So basically, he'll say things like, "I'll do the dishes when I get back from the store," and then never do them because he forgets. Or if the trash needs to be taken out, he'll say, "Wake me up in the morning when you get the kids on the bus, and I'll do it then," but then never does it. If the house needs cleaning and I start getting to work, he'll try to convince me to wait a few hours so he can help. But if I do wait, it never gets done. And it is truly him forgetting. It's not deliberate by any means. Even if he's the one cooking dinner that night, he'll usually forget that he's cooking and randomly say, "Oh darn," and run out of the room at $1.10 so he doesn't burn the food because he truly forgot he was cooking at all. I always remember and I'm super aware of everything, so obviously I would never let it get to the point of disaster, but I do make a point to not say anything unless I absolutely have to. Anyways, this is how it's always been. I'm so used to it now that it doesn't bother me. I actually enjoy cleaning, but some days the help would be nice. And he does help when he actually remembers. He's not useless by any means, and he does absolutely try to take the load off my hands. He truly just forgets often, but I'll say that lately I've been frustrated. I'm 20 weeks pregnant, getting a little slow on movement and increasingly tired and, dare I say, lazy myself. I still do my part, but I admittedly don't want to. Hormones and fatigue are a nightmare. But anyways, I got in a deep clean mode about 2 days ago and started going ham on this house. My husband said he wanted to help me, but had an appointment to detail a vehicle first. So he leaves. The appointment should have only been an hour, but he came back in roughly 2.5. Turns out he knew the guy from school, and they were catching up. By the time he got home, the house was sparkling clean. He says, "Crap, I should have come home sooner. I got caught up and forgot." So I said, "That sounds like a you problem." He asked what I meant, and I said, "You forgetting everything is a you problem. I've dealt with it for years, and I no longer want to hear it used as an excuse." I was frustrated. My back was killing me, and I just wanted to sit and enjoy my book in peace without being disturbed. He shook his head and said, "That was uncalled for," and walked off. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Actually, it was called for. He can and should take steps to deal with his ADHD. You've been dealing with the consequences of his ADHD and memory issues. In a sense, you're enabling his failure to do something about them. With an infant or a child soon joining your family, it's time for him to do something, even to learn memory management tricks. Otherwise, he can't be trusted to be alone with the new baby. Deal with this before something really bad happens. You are the idiot. Have some empathy. The ADHD memory fog is brutal. You look up and it had been 6 hours, and you didn't do anything you planned, and you couldn't say what you did the entire time, like someone's just stealing time from you. It's probably affecting his ability to do fun things more than you realize, because it can look like we're doing something fun, but we're trapped in a loop and don't know how to break it. I think he's using ADHD as an excuse not to help. Detailing that car was important to him. He didn't forget to do that. OP, you should sit down and have a serious conversation with him, because this behavior will not work once you have a child. "Oh, I forgot to change the diaper. Can you do it?" "Oh, I forgot to give the kid a bath. Can you do it?" "Oh, I forgot the kid in the bathtub. You should do it next time." He isn't forgetting to do chores, at least not all the time. He's just doing what he needs to do to get you to do the work, and he's been getting away with it for years. Unfortunately, as someone who has ADHD, and so does my partner, to the extent that your husband has, this is a your problem, meaning both of you are going to have to deal with it. You're married, and his struggles also affect you. Also, that kiddo you're carrying will probably have it too. My daughter came out with ADHD in ways I wasn't prepared for and had to study up on it and how to be a better parent. You both should really read up and learn how to live with ADHD, because it has so many ways it influences your life. My ex-wife and I share 2 children. Our daughter is a young teen, and our son is a tween. She was remarried for 7 years and had 2 children with her late husband. Unfortunately, he died a week ago. My kids were not close to the man. He was an idiot, and the kids found him overly strict, and I agree, and they didn't like being around him. The relationship, at best, was strained, but they confided in me over the years that they hoped their mom would leave them. She loved the guy, though, and when he died last week, she was a mess. Our kids were with me when it happened, and she wanted to see them, so I brought them over. They comforted their mom, and she told them repeatedly that it was okay to cry, to miss him, and that they were all going to miss him. The kids said nothing. She kept repeating it. I told her I thought the kids got it. When the kids saw their mom again, she was halfway through planning the funeral and asked if they could do a reading or something for the funeral. The kids said they wouldn't be able to. She was with them a while, and then since they weren't crying much, maybe they could take a reading and see how they did on that day. The kids told me about it when I spoke to them, and they asked if I could talk to their mom. I told my ex not to force the reading. The funeral day came, and I showed up for my kids. They hung back with me a lot, and they told me their mom kept watching them, which I witnessed myself. I sat behind them for the funeral, since she wouldn't let them sit with me. She told us that all her husband's kids should be seated up front, and I didn't have the heart to tell her they weren't his kids on the day of her husband's funeral when she was such a mess. So I bit my tongue and supported my kids. It was after the service that everything went down. The kids came to sit with me in my car for a while, and we were laughing about something. X came over and asked how they could laugh when they had just buried their stepdad, and why they showed no grief over losing the man who was part of their lives for 7 years. She said it almost looked like they were glad he was gone. She told them they should have looked way more somber after he passed. She told them if they didn't really care, they clearly needed help because her husband loved them. I stepped in and told her to lay off the kids. They were kids. She told me to stop interfering how she parents our kids. My daughter got mad at her mom and told her she wasn't sad he was gone. He was an idiot, and she had always hoped she would leave him. She stormed off and my son followed. My ex was going crazy, and I yelled and told her to cut it out and stop trying to make our kids perform a grieving routine over her husband. And I told her they were trying to support her, and she should be proud of them for that. She started yelling back at me about what an idiot I was, so I walked away. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It doesn't matter how much she wants to believe something. If your children don't miss him, then they don't miss him. I don't see that you've done anything wrong here. You tried to support your children, and even went as far as, I didn't have the heart to tell her they weren't his kids when she was such a mess. So I bit my tongue and supported my kids. Many people wouldn't have been so restrained. Your priority is and should be your children. You needed to speak up for them because no one else would. The poor woman is delusional. She has this picture of a perfect husband, father, that simply doesn't match reality. I feel bad for the kids having to deal with that. It may be time to revisit the custody agreement. Doesn't sound like the kids need that emotional BS directed their way. I have to wonder if she's going to rush to find some new jerk to get married to. People like her, who ignore the signs of their partner abusing their kids, just can't handle being alone. So they'll try to replace the last one as quickly as possible. My male 29, sister 28, came over to visit me yesterday after she had an argument with her boyfriend, 31. She was crying to me about how he had bought her artificial diamonds for her birthday, even though he knows how much she treasures and values genuine jewelry. I told her that maybe she should consider that real diamonds would be too much of a financial strain, but she seemed shocked that I would say this and kept going on. She told me how he took her to a cheaper resort for their last anniversary and how this example demonstrates his overall behavior, showing a lack of commitment to her. I honestly was super repulsed by the things she was saying and her lack of gratitude. I asked her what she did for him for their anniversary, and she got mad at me and told me to support her instead of arguing. I told her that materialistic attitude towards relationships is toxic and that she needs to reevaluate it because she honestly sounds like a gold digger. She lost it at this and screamed at me and called me a massive idiot and left my house. Am I the idiot? Oh no, my wallet's too small for my 50s and my diamond shoes are too tight. You're not the idiot, OP. When you go and complain about getting jewelry and being taken to a resort, you give your audience the right to share their opinion. Yeah, imagine crying about getting gifted beautiful jewelry. Crazy. Instead of being grateful for what her boyfriend gave her, she's finding fault because she wants him to spend more money on her as proof of her worth. Sounds a lot like a gold digger. I'm sorry. She thinks that a lack of spending money on her shows a lack of commitment? Holy hell. Commitment isn't about money. She's 100% a gold digger. Also, I have to know, artificial diamonds? Does she mean cubic zirconia or lab-grown? Because lab-grown diamonds are cheaper, come without the risk of unethical mining, and are chemically identical to a natural diamond. Also, natural diamonds are a scam. That's not really the issue here, but I doubt she could tell a lab-grown stone from a real one without help, so she needs to let it go. I do wonder if her boyfriend hasn't caught on to her motives. I see a divorce in the future. She will continue to be disappointed and, of course, blame others. You might want to distance yourself a bit from her so she doesn't blame you.